So the news is coming out from Rome. The last version of this document that's going to restrict the traditional Latin Mass is being put into place. The view in Rome is very much towards the re-implementation of what Pope Paul VI tried to do with the introduction of the Novus Ordo back in the day. What is interesting is now what seemingly is going to happen is that all bishops in the Latin Rite will be forbidden to say the Vetus Ordo unless they have permission from Rome. So all bishops will be prohibited, forbidden to say the Vetus Ordo without express permission from Rome, especially when it comes to ordinations and creating subdeacons, conferring minor orders in the old rite. All of that is gone. It'd be interesting to see what they do with the Ecclesia Dei communities, how they manage to get around this. Maybe there'll be some exception for them. We don't know. But there will be no more pilgrimages or, the Chartres pilgrimage, with priests, bishops supporting this. That's all going to be taken away. So it's going to start from the top down, completely banning all Latin Rite bishops, cardinals, from saying the Vetus Ordo, for going into a monastery and saying the Vetus Ordo and stuff like this. They are really, you see, the focus in Rome is very, very clear. Very, very clear. The big tent is very small for traditional communities. We've a big tent, but when it comes to traditional communities, we'll make your life as annoying as possible. We'll frustrate you to no end to get you out of the church, it seems. I don't know what's going on in Rome. Who's got the ear of the Pope? What is Cardinal Roche planning? But it's very, very, very interesting in this time in the church. And as I said in many of my podcasts, and I'll say it again and again and again, I have no issues with the Novus Ordo. For me, I preferred the Vetus Ordo, I preferred the silence, but I have no issues with the new order of the Mass, the 1970 missal issued by Pope Paul VI. I have no issues with that. The same way as I have no issues with the Greek Catholic divine worship or the Maronite or any of the other rites that are in the church. I have no issue. If this fosters the faith, helps faith grow, helps communities grow, helps evangelize in the church, it should be let out. If beautiful Gregorian chant at a high mass that previous generations would have heard, if that beautiful chant can be heard today, why not? And maybe a traditional high mass isn't for everybody, but it is something incredible to see and watch. It is something, it's beautiful to see at Christmas or at Easter, these beautiful rites, this beautiful mass. And if people prefer that, like that, it helps their spiritual life, let it out in the church. If you prefer the Novus Ordo and you're going to a neo-catechumenal mass or movement, they have their special rite, their special mass. And look, what is the problem in the church? The thing is, Rome seems to be very, very insistent on restricting and getting rid of this old mass. For some reason, in Rome at the moment, they spend more time and energy on destroying the old mass than on evangelizing the church, than on renewing the Eucharist. Something is seriously wrong what we see going on in the church at this moment in time. I don't know. And this is being so well leaked now from Rome to various people. Those of us who lived in Rome still have connections there, because they're not happy with what Rome is doing at this moment in time. They're not happy with this incredible confusion of the church, that the Pope will go around the world telling different countries on how that they should decriminalize this and decriminalize that and what laws they should have. The Pope will go around and at the same time send his cardinal off. Now you get rid of that old mass. Somehow you need to get rid of this. Can't have this in the church. Can't have people reverencing our Lord in the Eucharist with that old rite. What previous generations held sacred needs to be exterminated. That's the motto that seems to be coming from Rome. What previous generations held sacred has to be exterminated. because this seems to be where the direction is going in the church. On division, on causing hurt, on causing pain, no dialogue. Remember, it's very, very interesting. No dialogue, no consultation, no asking those communities how they felt. Oh my God, the camera just went. My camera just went there. This happened with Father Leon in Medjugorje when no dialogue. That's very strange. Just let me see if I can fix my camera here. Oh, did it just? Yeah, now it's there. I'm going to keep this. No dialogue. That's very strange. I've used this thing, this tripod for all of my podcasts, and the last time this happened was in Medjugorje with Father Leon Pereira. So Satan must be pretty annoyed with me for some reason. No dialogue. We have this synodal process, synodality. Enlarge the tent. Let the tent get bigger. But when it comes to traditional Catholics, traditional communities, no, you're not in the tent. No, you're not going to have dialogue here. No, you can't be invited to this. The Irish delegation that went to Prague, they invited We Are Church. Pro-abortion, pro-same-sex marriage, pro-LGBT alphabet, pro-this, pro-that, pro every heterodox idea that you can imagine in the church. And yet when it comes to communities that worship our Lord ad orientem, that, say no Latin, and these are all very highly catechized, highly educated Latin Mass communities. These are not some, illiterate people that, were going to Mass and praying devotions. Catholics who go to traditional Latin Mass today are highly educated. They love their faith. They pick up a missal. They can follow the Mass. They can see what's reverent. And Rome has really lost it in this moment in time. They have really going down this route. Oh, let's have a synod of synodality and synodal this and synodal that. Yeah, at the same time, let's make traditional Catholics so annoyed that they'll. I don't know. It's very interesting. Our Lord will, one way or the other, he'll show his truth. And there might be other areas in the church that I'm not aware of. Other reasons why Pope is so focused on this. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they want to reform the Novus Ordo and make it more like Sacrosanctum Concilium. That could be the case. Who knows? It could be the case that the Pope is deciding to do something that we're not aware of. So we have to pray for the Pope. But if Rome came down so hard on Greek Catholic Mass, I'm just going to play you a clip here from a Greek Catholic Mass that I went to. It's a divine worship, Greek Catholic in Bratislava. If Rome came down hard on that rite and said, no, you can't advertise your parish and you can't, allow this to grow and you can't do this and you can't do that. If Rome came down so hard, they would feel aggrieved. And yet they seem to be very intent on destroying the traditional Latin Mass, on destroying reverence. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Can somebody tell me? The new motto from Rome with After Traditionis Custodes is what previous generations held sacred is to be exterminated. Seemingly, this is what clergy feel. The way that Rome is moving is to exterminate what previous generations held sacred in the Latin Rite. No more High Mass. No more bishops or cardinals celebrating the Vetus Ordo without express permission from Rome. So no organising a pilgrimage, say a Summorum Pontificum pilgrimage or a Mass like that. No more Vetus Ordo, no more traditional Latin Mass in any cathedrals. Certainly not in Rome. So it'll be interesting where this is coming down. But so pray for the church. I do think we talk a lot about it in new evangelization. We talk a lot about synodality and inclusion and discussion and so forth. And yet when it comes to the million plus Catholics who prefer the traditional Latin Mass, no, you're excluded. No, you're no voice. No, you can't talk as laity. you're just ignorant. The Novus Ordo will do the same thing. Just keep going to the Novus Ordo and you'll be fine. And in reality, the church, I just think the sensible thing for the church to have done is to put the Vetus Ordo of the Mass and the Novus Ordo to Mass into the Missale Romano, and there let the church just let pastors and bishops decide which one people want to go to. I mean, without causing division or confusion, if the church cannot look itself in the face and its past and understand its past, how is it going to understand the future? You know, so interesting times. This is where it's going. You know, bishops will be banned from celebrating the Vetus Ordo. All the bishops of all the Latin Church. If you're a Latin Rite bishop or cardinal, no more public Vetus Ordo. They might let you celebrate it in private, but no more public Vetus Ordo. So no more Cardinal Burke walking down the aisle, to a pontifical high mass. Sad. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye. I was just going to publish this and then I forgot to add what will be the basis of this change. Rome is going to re-implement Sacrosanctum Concilium, which is the document from which we got the Novus Ordo. So anything that you see coming from Rome will be referencing that document. And in Sacrosanctum Concilium, which was overwhelmingly approved by the world's bishops, they will talk about concelebration. And concelebration, whereby the unity of the priesthood is appropriately manifested, has remained in use to this day in the church, both east and west. For this reason, it seemed good to the council to extend permission for concelebration to the following cases. On the Thursday of the Lord's Supper, not only at the Mass of the Chrism, but also at the evening Mass, at Masses during councils, bishops' conferences and synods, at Mass for the blessing of an abbot, also permission of the ordinary to whom it belongs to decide whether concelebration is opportune, etc. So what has happened in the church was that the traditional communities, the Ecclesia Dei communities, refused to concelebrate with the bishop, the Novus Ordo. So this is going to come down to, do you accept Sacrosanctum Concilium or do you not accept Sacrosanctum Concilium, especially when it comes to those concelebrating with the bishop. My personal opinion is that every priest, a Latin Rite priest in the Ecclesia Dei communities, you should concelebrate with the bishop. You should. That's my personal opinion. There is a need for unity. And the person of the bishop, the role of the bishop in the diocese is extremely important. Now, I also understand there's a lot of very bad. I mean, I witnessed it here. There's some very strange stuff going on in the Novus Ordo. There really is. But it'll be interesting to see what comes out of Rome. So, what you will see with these restrictions is you will see a lot of quotations and annotations, and this is what Sacrosanctum Concilium says, blah 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 blah, to justify what's going to happen, which will happen. So anyway, I just thought I'd make people understand where it's coming, because priests will be asked to concelebrate with their bishop, and I do think that is appropriate. Priests should. That doesn't mean you can't celebrate your private mass as well. When concelebration didn't remove the need to say a private mass. It actually says that. Nevertheless, each priest shall also retain his right to celebrate mass individually, though not at the same time. Not at the same time in the same church as the concelebrated Mass, nor on Thursday of the Lord's Supper. So, just so people understand, and I think it's important for, as a blogger, I make traditional Catholics aware that, Sacrosanctum Concilium overwhelmingly, Archbishop Lefebvre didn't have any quabbles or he wasn't focused on that document in the council. It was one of the first documents. It was, Archbishop Lefebvre was more focused on Dignitatis Humanae and Nostra Aetate, two other documents, religious freedom. A long story. on Sacrosanctum Concilium, on concelebration at on Holy Thursday, the Lord's Supper. This is what Rome will ask traditional priests. You have to concelebrate with your bishop on that day if the bishop asks you. And I do believe traditional priests should obey Rome on that point, on Sacrosanctum Concilium. Or if you don't, then okay, this is serious, guys. Do you accept Second Vatican II? Do you accept what Sacrosanctum Concilium said? If a bishop is going to say the Novus Ordo reverently, and he's asking for unity, he should be supported. He should be supported. That's my opinion, which can seem hard for traditional communities. That said, at the other side, we shouldn't be banning the Vetus Ordo. It shouldn't be wholesale banned and what the church does. But it's an interesting time in the church. So I just thought I'd just make people aware what is coming will be, very much focused on Sacrosanctum Concilium, on that document. Watch my words. Watch what they say. Watch especially when it comes to concelebration and Holy Thursday, because the new rite of concelebration that was drawn up and inserted into the pontifical and into the Roman Missal, they might not be happy with it, but it is what the church has decided to do. And so it'll be an interesting time. And I do think there should be more dialogue and discussion. There should be more, reaching out instead of it being a top-down decision. Because in everything else, there seems to be dialogue and synodality and inclusiveness and everything like this. But when it comes to traditional communities, they don't feel that. I know that for a fact. They don't feel that. But I want to make my position clear, my personal position. I have nothing against Sacrosanctum Concilium. I have actually nothing against the Novus Ordo when it's said reverently. I have gone to what Taylor Marshall calls that unicorn mass, where the Novus Ordo is said ad orientem in Latin, and it helped me learn Latin. The Novus Ordo, because you have to follow what the prayers that the priest is saying. So you're following the prayers in the Novus Ordo that the priest is saying in Latin. That's how I learned Latin. That's how I followed Latin. Listening to what the priest was saying, the priest was praying, the prayers that were being said. For example, in the Novus Ordo in Latin, you say Pater Noster, qui es in celis, sanctificer nomen tuum, venit regnum tuum. People understand this is we were taught to pray in Latin in the Novus Ordo. You don't do that in the Vetus Ordo. In general, especially in Europe, we weren't taught to pray. So not everything was bad in the Novus Ordo. And if you had taken the Novus Ordo and said the black and done the red being the rubrics and the black being what was supposed, if priests had just done what was said in the missal instead of all this craziness and all this invention, we wouldn't be in the place we're in today. But if the Vatican doesn't seem to have any problem, the Vatican seems to be in a strange place at this moment in time with all of the craziness that's going on in the church. So I pray for priests and bishops. I do believe when this communication comes out, I do believe that traditional priests should concelebrate with the bishop on Holy Thursday, the Lord's Supper. This should be done. If you want to have unity in the church, you should. Otherwise, what sign are traditional Catholics giving? Also, I do believe that the church should be more benevolent to traditional communities if they want to promote their community, grow their community, evangelize, because traditional Catholics, like for example the SSPX, they don't just grow themselves by poaching from the Novus. They actually evangelize. They actually bring people into the church. They actually do a catechesis. They are actually good Catholics. Really, really good, amazing Catholics. What people fail to grasp here. And maybe it's time for the SSPX to have a personal prelature in the church. So, so that those bishops have status, have jurisdiction in the church. Maybe that's what's needed now. Look, it'll be interesting to see. So, for anyone watching me, watch my words. When the communication comes out from Rome, watch what is said regarding Sacrosanctum Concilium. And I'm not against some of the stuff that's in this document. So it'll be interesting to see, what is the reaction. But I would caution traditional priests in the Ecclesia Dei communities against disobedience when it comes to being asked to concelebrate with your bishop. Do it. Do it. There's this conception that somehow and some way that the church is going to go back to exactly the way the Mass was said in the 1950s, that the church will return to the Vetus Ordo exactly as it was said. That will never happen. That will never happen. Mark my. The church never goes back to a particular period or view of time in the church. It never happens. And it will not happen in this moment of time. It will move forward. And what will happen is you will have reforms. You will have a council or maybe an extraordinary synod of bishops. You will have reforms. A new pope will come along and things will be, the church flows. It moves forward. It never goes back. So to give this expectation that some traditional Catholics think that the church, we made such a terrible mistake with the Mass and now we have to get rid of everything that we have done over the last 60 years. There are many places where the Novus Ordo is said very reverently, with doing what the church has said and with no inventions. I've seen it. And you go to Asia, you see packed churches where the Mass is said very reverently, with none of the craziness that we see in the West, with no rainbow flags and LGBT this and let's disregard church teaching and morals and faith and morals. There are many places where it's done reverently. If the church is to move forward, you have to talk, you have to dialogue. But I would ask traditional Catholics on that document, on Sacrosanctum Concilium, which was the document from which we got the Novus Ordo, I would ask them, that document was well thought out, and if you go to the East, you always see concelebration. It's a powerful sign of church unity, and we should be able to have this in the Latin Rite as well, which was part of the tradition of the church. And anyway, so look at what's coming. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye. I'm just going to leave you with a video from a Greek Catholic Mass I went to. Something that, if they can have reverent, beautiful masses ad orientem, God-centered, why can't Ireland? Why can't traditional Catholics have this? Why can't Rome see that we need to turn to God? Maybe then our children would believe more. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.